Good evening. Good evening. So wonderful to see all of you here. My name is Stephen Gorley. I'm the director of music here, and it is my pleasure to formally invite you to what was supposed to be the opening concert of our 2018-2019 season. Unfortunately, at the time, Hurricane Florence had other plans for us, but here we are now on this delightfully cold evening. Just a few notes before we start. Most of you have a cell phone on you. I would invite you at this time to find that cell phone or pager or alarm of some sort and turn that to off or stun, whichever mode does not make a noise. You'll see on the back page of your program some info on our last two programs of the spring. Our Broadway show next month, which is about 4 weeks from now, will be in the fellowship hall. We would love to have you all back. It seems like with our capacity being about 200, we wouldn't be able to hold all of you. So if you are, if you do feel so moved to attend that, I would advise to call ahead and reserve that spot as soon as you can. And then, of course, our program in May with the orchestra playing music of Handel, Haydn, and Finzi is certainly one that you would want to have on your books as well. This evening is especially important for me personally because I have known these guys since I was 11. Just a few years ago, my father, who was also a musician and is in the building, I believe, worked with these guys every December, and fortunately, I now have that same honor, and so this program, in many ways, honestly, is a tribute to him and to the family bonds that have been formed over the last 21 years. So without further ado, please welcome Carolina Brass.
All right, thank you very much. It's so nice to be back here in Pinehurst. We have played here a few times with Stephen on some Sunday morning services. You may have heard us then. Years ago, we've done a number of concerts here in town. We've done some at the hotel there, some holiday pop shows, and but it's been quite a few years. And we love coming to Pinehurst, so it's nice being back. But I saw Ann, someone who recognized me, I don't know, about 45 minutes ago. She came in and said, "You're Tim. I remember you from 14 years ago." And the first thing that came to my mind was, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But she said, "You played on the for the library." And I said, "Oh, I remember the Givens Memorial Library because we did 2 or 3 concerts there." So anyway, more information than you needed to know. Okay, so this next tune we're going to play was written for a friend of mine in his quintet, Rich Stotzel, and Rich now teaches up at McGill University in Montreal. But I was looking for the piece, and we were going to purchase it, and I couldn't find it. And I knew it was by Eric Awazen, so I called Eric, and Eric's on the faculty at Juilliard. He's on the composition faculty there. And I said, "Eric, we can't find your piece." And he said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll just send it to you." So he sent it to me. It's really quite a nice little fanfare. So this is one of the first times that we've played it. I think we've done it one other time, perhaps. But it's such a nice tune, and we're going to keep that as part of our sort of rotational repertoire, I think. But we hope you like this tune. And before we play it, we'd like to take just a moment to introduce the group.
Play with you. Hey, Matt. Nice to hear you. Good to play with you.
Thank you.
Yes, can everybody hear me? Oh, there it goes. All right. This is a very strange position for me. This is a little better. Introducing this particular piece, this next piece, I have never introduced this piece because we almost always start every concert with this next piece, Caroline in the Morning. We just happened to be in a room with a big giant organ in it, and we thought we should start with a piece like that. But we are going to play this next piece. It's sort of our signature piece. Back 10 years ago when we first got together, 21 years ago when we first got together, Tim got in touch with a friend of his who happened to be a world-renowned arranger, Arthur Frackenpole. And I know Arthur Frackenpole is probably not a household name, but in a household where you blow through a brass tube and dump spit on the floor, it comes up fairly often. So, yeah, he arranged this tune for us, and we have used it ever since as our opener. So it just wouldn't feel right if we didn't play Carolina in the Morning. Here we go.
Hold it, press it in, hold it. Thank you so much.
Takes a second.
Check, check, check. There we go. Thank you so much. The microphone's slower than I am, if you can believe that, to turn on. You know, I was just noticing we programmed this several months ago, as you know. I hope no one showed up during the hurricane when we, because we weren't here, by the way. But this next tune, you know, I was looking at Simple Gifts, Aaron Copeland, who, that's really a lie. Aaron Copeland didn't really write it, but he takes credit for it. It's a shaker tune. Joseph Brackett, am I right? I think it's Joseph Brackett that actually wrote it. You know, 'tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be, and so forth. It's such a lovely little tune. And a friend of ours, Hari Villanueva, took this and arranged it for brass quintet. And Hari is Well, he just retired from U.S. Army Band up in D.C., bugler for many, many years. But I was looking at the program and noticed we have simple gifts, and I'm looking down further, and where's Stephen? Stephen, I noticed you also have simple gifts.
We talked about this.
We did?
Months ago.
Okay.
Months ago.
Months ago.
We planned this concert in July,
Okay.
and you said you were going to play one, and then I said I was going to play one.
Well, I'm going to play one. We're playing our one first.
Yeah.
But
Look,
you're...
I know that was a long time ago.
Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. We're working something out.
So you do yours now.
Okay, I'll do... So we'll go first. You wait here. We'll go first. Okay.
You play yours now, and I'll do mine in a little bit, okay?
Oh, you'll do yours in a little bit. Okay. Sure. So we'll do simple gifts. Our simple gifts is harder than yours.
Are you sure?
I think it is.
We'll see.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see.
tell me what you want to say. I'll shout it out. Okay, when I was planning this program with Tim, he asked if I would play a bit just to give them a break, and I said no. Why would I do that? But then he bribed me. I said okay, I'll do it. I'd like to offer you. I'll let the music speak for itself, but just a joyous, happy toccata in G by Theodore Dubois, French composer of the mostly early to mid 20th century, who was organist at the Madeleine Church in Paris. So please enjoy this.
The next work we're going to do for you is going to require some patience on your part. These guys might come out close to you. Don't worry. It's okay. We have a little moving around to do, and I'll explain that in just a moment. I have to move around a little bit too, so pardon me if I walk while I talk. As the Renaissance and Baroque eras overlapped a little bit, there was a wonderful gentleman named Giovanni Gabrielli who was working at a little church in Venice called St. Mark's. You might have heard of that place. St. Mark's was designed with choir lofts on each side of the congregation. And the voices that music was written for, or the sackbuts and cornets, or in our case, the modern instruments that we stole this music for, it was sung or played across the top of the congregation. And this is called antiphonal music. It's where you get sound from all sides. Basically, these days we call it, unfortunately, surround sound. It's not as fantastic as antiphonal sounds, but it'll do, I guess. So we're gonna give this a shot for you. It causes a few other considerations as we're playing, as you might imagine, especially in a live church like this. So there are things we have to pay attention to that we don't when we have to sit so close together up there. So this is Canzone Personare, number 4, by Giovanni Gabrielli.
adjust. All right, getting lined up here. Changing stance, he said, mine's a little high and it's making me do this with my neck while I'm playing. I said, okay, here, we can change stands and figure it out, but let's go ahead and not change parts, Bob. So why don't you take your St. Louis Blues, and I'll take mine, and here. So the next piece we're going to be doing is St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues, however you pronounce that, and written by W.C. Handy, who was known as the father of the blues. Also wanted to just mention that this is on our CD recording art collection, and we'll be selling CDs out here, 15 a piece or 3 for $40. We have 5 different CDs available, so please come check us out during intermission or after the concert, and have St. Louis Blues on one of them and a lot of other pieces. So here we go.
Get off the pulpit up there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, there we go. So the first tune we played, actually the first tune that we played was the little fanfare that I did, which was not in your program. Don't worry, there's no extra fee for that. We're come to think of it, it's a free concert anyway. So the tune that I played, you may have heard it before. It's written by Gottfried Reiche, back I think around late 1600s, early 1700s, somewhere in there, in the Baroque era. So who has heard that? It's I Bet I Know Where. Well, CBS Sunday morning, right? So raise your hand if you've heard that on Sunday morning. Those are all the people not in church on Sunday morning. Oh, you go to the early service, I know, or Catholic Mass on Saturday. Okay, that's fine. I've heard it too on occasion. Okay, so then we followed that with Trumpet Voluntary. Now, Trumpet Voluntary is also known as Prince of Denmark's March, has a couple of different names, kind of like Bob and Robert, but not quite. So, written by Jeremiah Clark, actually. On our music, it says Henry Purcell, and but it's incorrect. So we're spreading the word throughout the world that that was actually written by Jeremiah Clark, British composer. Okay, so this next tune that we're going to play was arranged for this group by a former trumpet player of ours. And am I talking about this piece? Yeah, go ahead. Who was on it? It's Steve Doobie. You'll notice in the program it says Vivaldi, Bach, Doobie, correct? So I know it's a funny name, isn't it? Because it's three guys. So Vivaldi, we all know Vivaldi, the Four Seasons and so forth. So Vivaldi originally wrote this piece. And then years later, Johann Sebastian Bach, he shaped it as he liked, made some changes. And it kind of sat around for a while until we got our hands on it and arranged it for brass chamber music. And it actually works quite well when we play it well. So hopefully it'll all go well, and we'll see how things go on the Concerto in D, Vivaldi Bach Doobie.
Right. The next piece we're going to play was composed for us, or arranged for us, by Stanley Hoffman. To make the story long, as is the case generally in a Carolina Brass concert, we were playing a piece or some pieces with a choir for their 25th anniversary concert, and then it got recorded and kind of somehow got to Schirmer Music Publishing, and Stanley Hoffman, who was one of the editor publishers there, heard us and said, "Oh, I like those guys," and so then he asked if he could write a piece for us, and we'll get a lot of people asking if they can write a piece for us. Oh, okay, sure. And so he sent us this, let me make sure I get her all right and name all the pieces. The Fanfare, Tango, and Fuguetta on Hebrew themes. The Fanfare, The Soul of Every Living Being Shall Bless Your Name. Tango, When Israel Went Forth from Egypt. And the Fuguetta, How Goodly Are Your Tents, O Jacob. And took these pieces and made this arrangement, and it's become one of our favorite pieces. It's so well written, and hopefully it'll be well played. We'll find out.
dive into our next few pieces, I'd like to just do a quick survey, if I may. By a show of hands, how many of you are visiting this church for the first time? Wonderful. And how many of you are attending a concert here for the first time? Wonderful. Even more. Okay, good. As I mentioned earlier, we would love to see you all back here for either of our remaining programs. There will also be a number of other special programs that'll be announced in the next month or so. A few notes about our next two pieces. If you sing or are familiar with choral music of any kind, you may recognize this next piece, which is taken from Benjamin Britten's Ceremony of Carols, which is scored for treble voices and harp. Yes, and this around the end of November, a former classmate of mine, Andy Lloyd, completed a transcription of this piece for the organ, and I was able to include it in some of our services in the past few month or so. As it is arranged here, you will hear the melody played in canon between the manuals and pedal. And then in the original piece, there's a canon in 3 parts, and you will hear that, and builds to a lovely crescendo at almost full organ. And then we revisit the tune of simple gifts that you heard earlier. This arrangement is set in the style of a Dutch composer by the name of Link, who was doing much of his work in the 15th century, 16th century, somewhere in there, and the tune is heard on a number of stops, and in this arrangement here, we are able to make use of the Zimbelstern, which, if you don't know what that sounds like, is as such. We are fortunate to have 2 on this organ. As a matter of fact, this is the other one. Bit of magic flute, almost. Anyways, the piece opens and closes on the same 4-foot stop, of higher pitched stop, and goes through a number of volumes and such, and it comes back down. So please enjoy this little babe and simple gifts. Wrong score.
So I'm going to just say something quickly. I know it's quite a long concert, and we seem to have a lot to talk about. But I have to say this, and perhaps Stephen mentioned earlier, I couldn't hear what he was saying at the very beginning of the concert before we came out when we were back off here. But we worked with his father quite a few years ago, about 20 years ago, in fact. His father's a very fine organist and had a church. You may know Mark. But we met Mark and Judy, his parents, a couple decades ago in Goldsboro when we played at his church. And we traditionally would play there the last Sunday before Christmas. And we did that every year for quite a few years, I think until about 2006, until he got tired of us and went to another church. But we met Stephen there, and Stephen was, I don't know, about 11 years old, I think, 11 or 12, and we were 15 and 16. Thank you. And I remember when it was, we kept coming back, when Stephen was maybe 15 or so, 15 or 16, Mark had said, well, my son plays organ, and maybe he can do something with you sometime. And then he would gradually work him into, I'd hear him play a hymn and this and that. And then he played with us for the first time, I think when he was maybe 16. We were talking about this at dinner. And I thought, wow, this kid's really good, he's phenomenal. And we just kind of followed Stephen's career, and as he went on and became educated and all that. And boy, I tell you, it's just great working with him and how this has come about. And now we have this sort of newfound association with Stephen, and right here at the Village Chapel. So this is really kind of beginning to feel like home to us, and it's really great to be here. And we so thank you for coming to the concert. And I know Mark is here somewhere, and I've already seen Judy. Mark, raise your hand. There you are. Okay, it's the first time I've seen him in years, so don't leave before you leave. All right, thank you. Monteverdi now. Yeah. All right, here we are. We're going to swap tunes a little bit here. This is the Christe Redemptor by Monteverdi. Okay, so we're going to play a few selections from West Side Story, which everyone is familiar with. All right. And one of our we're not trying to push we are kind of trying to push our CDs on you, but we do have one recording where it's all Broadway, and we have 8 selections of music that was arranged by Jack Gale, who is a trombone player on Broadway. Been there for years and years and years. He's getting close to 70 now, so he's probably going to retire soon, but he still sounds great. And he teaches at the Manhattan School of Music, teaches theory and composition. But he did this arrangement, and then he did several arrangements for us. He did this arrangement originally in 1975, and Maria and Tonight, which we'll do. And then we're going to follow that with G. Officer Krupke, which he did for us about maybe 10 years ago, something like that. So we so hope you enjoy the music of Leonard Bernstein, West Side Story. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square, arranged by Jack Gale. That's the same arranger that did the West Side Story. Okay, so we're going to have our last tune here. And just before we play it, I just want to thank Stephen and the folks here at the Village Chapel. I guess the first person I met here was John Shannon quite a few years ago. Played with him, I don't know, back in the 1980s, maybe 80, 85, 6, somewhere in there. But we're going to play this one more tune here, and before doing so, we're so thankful that you came out to this concert, because we really, this day and age, it's so easy to not support live music and stay at home and, watch TV or listen to recordings or something. So we really appreciate you supporting concert series, especially when it's offered at no cost. It's incredible to me that it's fantastic. So we could not have done this without Stephen and everyone here at the church, and this concert wouldn't have happened certainly without you. We're grateful for that. Of course, it wouldn't have happened without us either, because it was our concert, but that's the way that goes. So thank you again. It's been wonderful being with you. We appreciate it. Take care.